You're listening to the Last Post radio show podcast series. You can download it and listen to it just like you would a radio show or a television show. You can go back to it at any time. We're obviously dealing with transition through the magazine and through the podcast series. We've interviewed some interesting people. Today we've got Garth Callender, Lieutenant Colonel Garth Callender from Bravery Trust, CEO of Bravery Trust. How are you, Garth?
I'm good, Greg. Thanks very much for having me on.
No, it's an absolute pleasure, and listeners will be glad to learn a bit more about yourself, Bravery Trust, and the Bravery Trek. Garth, you've been in the Army, you served actively for around 25 years?
Yeah, look, I've been in various roles in defence. I did about 17 years time, and we're delighted I can still serve in a part-time or reserve capacity even today.
Yes, actually, you've got a very interesting story. I know that you were in combat intelligence, training in strategic roles. I guess you were hit by a roadside bomb in Iraq in 2004. Tell us about that.
Yeah, you have these pivotal points in your life, and that is obviously one of those in my life. It was my first deployment overseas, and I was running the cavalry troop as part of the security detachment in Baghdad. Right. Obviously, 2004 was at the height of the insurgency over there, and it's an extremely dangerous place. We were there protecting the embassy staff and then escorting them around the Greater Baghdad area in our ASLabs. And one particular morning, the 25th of October, so almost 20 years to the day, we were targeted by an insurgent roadside bomb. So I was quite badly injured, but luckily through the actions of the soldiers who were around me, they gave me first aid. They got me to hospital and really saved my life.
Geez, what a story, Garth. I just can connect on a personal matter here. I guess these are traumatic experiences. I was in a head-on accident, which was a pivotal time in my life too. Also, I was lucky to survive. But yours, of course, was serving the Australian people and the Australian Army. Tell us a little bit about that, if you recall. What was the casualty? What happened? How many were there, and what was the result?
Yeah, but there were about 25 of us sort of intimately involved in that. There were 2 vehicles. Also, I had a couple of my quick reaction force. But in regards to the casualties, so no Australian soldiers were killed net in there. The reporting is from back then in 2004, a bit loose with the media reports. But what we do know is that there were at least 3 locals killed, 2 of which were the young kids who used to wave at us every time.
Oh, wow.
In the vehicle. So yeah, I always say with that team who was there on the ground, looking after me, providing that security cordon so I could get treated, so my team could be recovered. They really saw some of the worst things that anyone can be expected to see. But even from soldiers, some of the grisliest things, really that example of humanity at its worst.
Yes.
With some of the terrible injuries that come along with large bomb blasts.
Yes. This is an interesting thing too, and I know that through the magazine's experience and my own personal experience with my father's time in war, they are very strongly binding moments, and they can be life changing. Seeing humanity at its worst, and I guess there's some examples of seeing humanity at its best too, if we're lucky enough. But look, do you remember much about it?
Look, I do. I came to in the bottom of the turret. This was looked after by my team through the whole thing. It's worth commenting. As I said, no Australian soldiers died then and there. We do have one other chap, Matt Milhouse, passed away 9 years ago now from illness, which was linked back to that bomb blast. So 11 years later, we lost one of the boys.
Bless Matt.
Yeah, that was Matt. And there are a lot of really there are terrible things that come out of that bomb blow. But there's a few silver linings as well. With Matt passing, and it really drew our team back together. We'd gone off, a whole crowd had stayed in the military, others had gone off to do other things. But yeah, when Matt got ill, really drew us back together, and we're catching up again on the 25th of October here in Canberra at the War Memorial to commemorate that 20th anniversary of that event.
On the 25th of October at the Australian War Memorial. Very bonding experience to go through with a select group of people. Just finally on that matter, because the situation in Iraq was so volatile and combative and violent, has there been any portrayal in movies or anything that comes close to what you experienced there?
Look, not really, because if any of your listeners, I'm sure you have, probably most of your listeners would have a military background. That they'll know that Hollywood or any movie makers generally don't represent what it is to be on the ground there. In the fact that, to be honest, 95% of it is mundane. And I think more than 95% is mundane. And then the pink. So when you go through those traumatic incidents, can't be portrayed properly from the other end of the movie screen.
Yeah. And in many ways, perhaps a bit like Vietnam, where you didn't really know who you were fighting against a lot of the time, and there was suspicion on a lot of levels with ordinary people too, I guess, too, Garth. You went back in 2006 as second in command. Tell us about that experience.
Look, the question people always ask me with that is, why did you go back? You'd been injured. Why the drive to go back? And it simply for me, it was. I knew I was the right person for the job. I'd gone up a rank, gone up a level of seniority. Most importantly, I was responsible for designing the training of the guys to go over there, and then responsible for the day-to-day activities of the guys when we were there. And I thought, well, who better than me? I know the environment. I know how we operate. I know the enemy, and I know the enemy weapons sort of on a very personal, intimate level from being injured. So I really felt a strong obligation to go back, much to people's confusion and shock, not the least being my wife, who had been through it all with me.
Yeah. Totally understand, and there are so many stories out there, and you bring the reality of the situation closer to the understanding and into the lives of those that listen to the podcast series. So thank you once again very much for that, Garth. Now, as CEO of Bravery Trust, what's that gig like?
Well, so you've heard that story of that most pivotal point in my life, and to tell maybe of how I got and why I'm interested and why I'm so driven with what we do at Bravery Trust. I just tell that story that the 25 or so other Australians who are involved. Most of the boys, like I said, went on and did some amazing things. There's a whole heap still in the military at sort of senior enlisted ranks and mid-ranking officers now. There's a whole heap who have gone on to do great stuff in state and federal policing or in business or in government. But of that group, like I said, we lost Matt 9 years ago, and probably fair to say two have been really unwell from mental health issues which stem back from that. Two have good days and bad days, really. So probably of that 20, about 5 of the guys have not fared well. And I'd like to think that the work we do at Bravery Trust is all about looking after those guys. Quite often, mental health issues, whatever it is that is going on with your life, that those negative experiences you've taken from the military, quite often the symptoms of that are financial hardship. So what we do at Bravery Trust is all around focusing on, one, putting a pause on that initial financial pressure for whatever it is. We can pay a bill to make sure you're staying at home, you're not evicted. We can make sure there's groceries in the fridge so you can feed your family, or petrol in your car to get to your trip. But also the work we do now is all about longer term financial sustainability and resilience. And we do that through the work of our financial counsellors, a team of fantastic financial professionals who work with the individual. So a really empowering role to get them to understand what money's coming in, what money's going out. They work with them to consolidate their debt, and they represent them to financial institutions so that debt can be managed next. So honestly, I've spoken about obligation before, but I do feel a really strong obligation to feed back to the veteran community. I owe those boys my life, and whilst they're just 25 of the, I think the last census data said 580,000 veterans in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a small number, but I'd love to think the work we do looks after those who haven't fared well from their military service.
Yeah.
And we fully acknowledge too that probably I'm an example of it, but most have a great experience in the military, and long term have a great experience of incredible opportunities, incredible experiences, such a rewarding chapter of their professional life. It's those that don't that have that negative experience, which we often see.
Yeah, look, I think obviously helping veterans with financial specialists is the way to go, and obviously guiding them down the path of just helping them out generally in that thing is a very strong part of financial situations can be a very strong part of I guess health problems for veterans if that's the case too, and good on Bravery Trust for helping out there. How does it make you feel personally to be attached to an organisation that's doing such good work?
Look, I find it very professionally rewarding, and I love being able to help draw together the veteran space. We have for quite a while. I'm a firm believer in that those working in the veteran space all have their heart in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great to be able to say, hey, stick our hand up and say, hey, Bravery, we're all about financial support for veterans in hardship, veterans and their families in hardship. And we want to work with every other ex-service organisation out there to provide that support with, hand in hand with whatever you provide to it. And so yeah, I really love the work we're doing. I love the collaboration, and I do feel like our model is the most effective for the area that we're working in regards to that professional financial support.
Yeah, wonderful stuff, Garth. And I tell you what, one of the great things for me, this is from my personal level too, is having started the magazine 13 years ago, the number of wonderful Australians out there doing wonderful work. And I know that we do get flooded with negativity through mainstream media and shock jocks, etc., that are there to inject fear into the community. But our role here of The Last Post is similar to yours, is in assisting. And obviously, through that assistance, you do find some wonderful, wonderful stories of human compassion and human help. So thanks to you and Bravery Trust for the role you're doing. Now, of course, Garth, fitness is also a very important part of, mental health and post-traumatic stress disorder and all that sort of stuff. And of course, which moves us on to the Bravery Trek. Now, I'm actually involved in this too, which is great. And I'm doing the 10 weeks, 50K, so it's not a big ask, but it's certainly fun to be involved. Tell us about the Bravery Trek.
Yeah, so this is our 5th year now. So it started with the concept around, how can we get people involved? How can we get them, just more of a showcasing what we do in Bravery Trust and getting people to understand that we exist and what we do. It's also a fundraising activity. We also would like to think it's an opportunity to break down some of the stigma around talking about finances. Australians as a whole don't like talking about finances, but you get a group of proud veterans and it's the last thing they want to talk about. So that is an issue when it comes to actually getting people to reach out for help. Quite often we see people come to us, veterans and families come to us when it's awful, Whereas if they were empowered to speak out earlier, it would be much. It would be. We could plug in at an earlier point.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And they wouldn't go through so much hardship. But Bravery Trek. So like I said, it's the 50th year. First was done around a 96 kilometre activity representing the length of the Kokoda Trail.
That's right. Yeah.
We've had some other ones, and people would log on and they get messages when they get to a certain milestone of what happened during the Kokoda Trek at that.
Mm-hmm.
Then the other one that comes to mind is a couple of years ago we did the 57. So 57 kilometres represent. It had a maritime flavour to it. It was sort of representing the 57 ships, boats, and establishments of the Royal Australian Navy. And we've got an amazing team of really quite extreme runners that go above and beyond what anyone else who volunteers and signs up to do. And this team did a dawn start from North Head in Sydney at the Old School of Artillery. Ran through all the Navy bases around Sydney Harbour, finishing on South Head at HMAS Watson.
Wow!
So fantastic spectacle, fantastic event.
Not a bad run.
And quite often, yeah. Oh, look, and they do go above and beyond this core group of runners, but that's not really what it's all about. At the end of the day, it's getting as many people involved as possible. Like you said, Greg, this year it's 5 weeks and a choice of 10 kilometres or 50 kilometres a week.
That's right.
And that the 5 is representing the domain, so land, air, maritime, cyber, and space. And of course, we kicked off about a week and a half ago with land, where the Chief of Army, Lieutenant General Simon Stewart, launched this year's trek at the Land Forces Conference.
That's right. Absolutely marvellous. Bravery Trek, it's celebrating the service of Australian veterans, and you can join in. Do it for your own health and do it for the veterans as well. You've got nothing to lose. I'm enjoying it, as I said. I'm posting that on social media. I used to run, but now I just walk, but it's all good. It's a virtual distance challenge, so do get involved. It's a major sponsor is Leidos. Paul Chase there is the CEO, so thanks to Leidos for that. And how are you going yourself, Garth? Are you involved in it, or what's happening?
I am. So I've signed up for the 50 kilometres a week, which I used to be quite a runner. My knees now have decided that I'm not the runner that I used to be, so I plod along. I'm doing okay. I'm doing about 7.5 kilometres a day in a combination of running and I get on the treadmill in the gym as well, just to knock out a few of the extra ones where I'm not having to pound my knees on the asphalt.
Yeah. Well, they do say it's not good for you. I know that's anyhow, but it's a wonderful thing to do, to get involved on any level to help the veterans, and through the marvellous, I guess, conduit of Bravery Trust with the Bravery Trek now in its 5th year, and a big success so far, running till October 11. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we'll have our final event October 10, so the closing event here in Canberra.
Final event October 10 in Canberra. So what's the setup? Can anyone come along?
So for that event, we've got our core group of runners who really go above and beyond, and they've decided that a 10 kilometre run to finish it off isn't enough. So this is the 2nd year in a row they've decided to start in the middle of the night and do this year they're going to do 40 kilometres before they meet us at 6 o'clock to do the last 10 kilometres. They're going to do an ultra marathon. But yes, so the idea is that everyone can join with us on the 10th of October.
Mm-hmm.
So there'll be details on our Bravery Trek website.
Right.
But yeah, we're looking to start from Mount Ainslie and then see some of the more spectacular spots around Canberra this year.
Okay, fantastic. So if you're a veteran or you're associated with veterans' families and you're interested in what Bravery Trust do, go to their website, and at the same time visit the Bravery Trek website, which I've been a constant visitor to over the last few days. see what's going on, get involved, take a run, a walk, and help all those involved. It's been wonderful speaking with you, Garth, and thank you so much, Garth Callender, CEO, Lieutenant Colonel Garth Callender, CEO of the Bravery Trust, for your background story, which is most interesting. Love the chat, and hope to catch up again in the near future.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much for being on the Last Post Radio Show podcast series, and thank you for listening out there, and we'll bring more great stories to you soon.